righty.
All right. So, welcome to the CCN News Media recording for this week. This is October, what's the date, y'all? 28th?
28th.
28th. And we are talking to Anthony Travis, Robert Oliver, Sandra Campbell, and Margot Richmond. And I'd like to welcome you all to the show. Hi, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. There's
Hi.
exciting things going on this week. Anthony has sent some information to me about Maria Pappas and how she is dealing with property taxes here in Chicago, Illinois. And Robert, you want to just give people a little background on what you're doing in California?
Well, right now I have been actively in the information technology business for the last 15 years.
Okay.
But my previous forte, I live in Southern California, but I'm from Chicago originally, born and raised in Chicago. I was a journalist. I worked with Chicago Defender newspaper, and through that affiliation, that's how I met Wanda's late husband, Morgan
Yeah.
Carter.
Morgan Carter.
I've also had affiliations with a radio program. I used to be on WBEE in Chicago
I remember that.
called Interactions.
Yes.
Then later on it went to I think it's
WGTI?
No. WG something X.
Okay.
The studios were like around 49th and Michigan.
Oh yes, I remember them. Oh yeah.
In Chicago.
Yeah.
In Chicago.
Yeah, I can't remember what that was.
So I've been a producer for that show, and also an announcer for that show. And here in San Diego, I was the only black radio talk show host.
Okay.
Here. This was
All right.
in 2009 for 3 whole weeks.
And that was it.
Only 3 weeks until something happened in the middle of the show where the owner halted the show, and the next day I was fired.
Well,
We can talk.
Amen. Welcome to the world of people being fired.
We can talk about that. We can talk about that another day,
we'll
and
talk
hopefully
about that another day. Well,
Mhm.
Sandra, I want you to give people that perspective that you were giving me earlier.
You're commingling the things that he does. First of all, Donald Trump doesn't have a job or a salary. He doesn't even collect a salary for being president. Your income taxes are determined by revenue, meaning that you brought this income in. Like if you win the lottery, you got to pay taxes on it.
Right.
You know, if you win certain lawsuits, not all, because if you win a discrimination lawsuit with the federal government, they have to take the taxes out before you receive it, because they look at that as earned income. One of the things about it is, depending on what it is that he did at that time, where he said that this was his job, that this was a salary, and not getting paid through his dividends and interest like he normally does, and Mitt Romney and all the others get paid. That's why they don't have a job either. Then whatever he claimed to have had a job for at that time, when he finished with his salary, and again, I didn't look at his taxes. I don't know what the income was for that time, how he said he worked or what they paid him. When he finished doing his write-offs and taking out his allowances, what he could have deducted, he actually wound up only owing $750. And we talked about another friend of ours, like I said, and we used an example, he leased his car. And when he went to his various properties and checking on his properties, he got a chance to write off the mileage and the use of that vehicle for those purposes, because those were purposes other than him going to his job.
Right.
So at the end of the year, with his CPA, he wind up really, in essence, not paying for that car. His write-off included what he had been paying for that vehicle,
Okay.
for leasing that vehicle for a year. And he did that for 3 years, and several other people do it. And that's why they lease their cars, because again, they get to write them off.
Okay.
What needs to occur is we as Black people, and maybe we as people in general, because I don't like to be saying Black people need to understand that there's a whole nother mechanism, a whole nother way, a whole nother lifestyle of earning money. And whether that money can be, well, I'm not going to say earning, because to earn it, it's got to be taxed, of receiving monies for you to live off of that are not considered your earnings. And depending on how he has his dividends set up, what those dividends go to and how those dividends, what they pay, is going to make the determination of what he has. It's probably why he's filed bankruptcy so many times, because if you don't have anything coming in, then guess what? You got nothing. One thing they did say was that his earnings from The Apprentice, he said when he started that, he was something like $97 million in the hole.
Wow.
But having that show, with that show, he earned like 190 something million dollars, which helped him pay off what he was in a hole for, the 97 mil. And then I guess the other was whatever he needed to do. But that wasn't the earnings that they talked about. That wasn't the money he paid the $750 on.
Okay.
They never gave exactly when he paid that $750 and what source of income allowed him only to pay $750 in taxes.
Right.
That was not revealed, because I think they're still going over his taxes for the last 20, 30 years, because he's done all kinds of crazy stuff. And you know, like I said, he felt that he didn't need to reveal his finances to the public when running for president. And again, shame on Congress, shame on the process for not making him do like all the other candidates have had to do, whether it's running for president or senator or House of Representatives. You have to have that financial disclosure. And no one made him do it. I mean, and whatever he didn't do or should have done, it's kind of crazy to talk about it 4 years after the fact.
Okay.
Right.
What say you, Anthony, now that you've heard her perspective on how it is that Trump only had to pay $750? Do you understand now that it was related to his business more than his
Yes.
income?
Yeah, whenever you listen to Ann Richards at 12 o'clock on WVON, one of the things she pointed out to our community is that you need to start a business. You can have a business in your house, and you can take advantage of the tax code. And see, that's the one point that I want not only the Black community, the 99% to comprehend. It's about the tax code, baby. It's about the tax code. Why you think the Koch brothers spend billions of dollars to support those Republican candidates so they can control the tax code? It ain't about you. It ain't about
It's called the art of negotiation, and everybody must learn that. Just go open up some businesses and take your time and figure out how to negotiate your way to the top.
Yes.
I never count anybody else's money.
Well, see, the thing folks got to understand, and this is where the 99% on the white side of the ledger get messed up at, because they think that the Koch brothers, who fund their social outlet on abortions and all kind of social activities, oh man, they must really love us. No, they don't. They got you hypnotized because you thinking if they give me $1 million for my social event, I'm gonna be all right. Well, the Koch brothers, first of all, they're gonna write that off.
Right.
And then they're gonna laugh all the way to the bank, saying we got us another sucker. And that's how And that's how they view white folks. That's part of the 99%.
What say you, Margot?
Pardon me?
What say you?
What did you say? I'm sorry.
What say you about this?
I don't count other people's money. I'm only concerned with what I can do and what I can teach right now. I can't count that man's money. All of those people up there know exactly why they put him in office. They knew what he was coming to do.
Yes.
And when you look at the senator's money, you look at all of those people's money. I'm not getting ready to even try. I'm getting ready to try to stay healthy, happy, and figure out how I can make that kind of money too.
Okay.
But it's my only prayer, my humble prayer.
I heard that.
As a race of people, whatever the race is, if you're down on the ground like I am, looking up and not a setup, it's time to really, really start either coming together, stop meeting, and stop having these conversations where we're just talking to talk. We either join forces and figure out how to make some money and have a great time at it. That's all I want to do. I'm 66 years old. This is my grand finale. I'm finna get down for real.
What
I
about
heard
you,
that.
Robert?
Well, here's what I'm reading, I can even give you a reference from the New York Times because, like I said, I'm a writer. Well, you've known me for years. You've known me for over 20 years, and you know me to get all sides. And one side I'm reading about this is from what the New York Times reported. It says Mr. Trump paid an alternative minimum tax in 7 years between 2000 and 2017. This is from the New York Times. A total of $24.3 million, excluding the refunds he received after filing. For 2015, he paid $641,931, his first payment of any federal income tax since 2010, the New York Times report. It says, also, too, it says in his first 2 years in office, he filed for extensions for taxes on prior years, tax filing, and paid estimated taxes on those. For 2016, he paid $1 million, according to the New York Times. The following year, he paid $4.2 million when he filed for an extension. So I'm saying, everybody, we're focused on the tail of the elephant, but not on the rest, but on the Trump. So it's like $750, $750. But who wants to talk about the figures that I just mentioned? Like I said, that's from the New York Times.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess we just need to have a clear understanding so that people can move on, because I think that caused a lot of
controversy.
Yeah, a lot of controversy. And because
that was just thrown out there again. It's part of the politics to take you off. It's a distraction. They give you something to distract you from whatever they're really doing and whatever they don't want you to pay attention to. And they know people. The industrial psychologists, they're making their money because they can say, if you throw this out here, they will bite. This is what they will start focusing on, and they will rise this. You got this for at least a good 3 weeks. And by that time, you'll be able to do this, this, and this, and this, and get it out of the way. And you'll be finished with what you wanted to do, and they won't even know when it hit them because they weren't paying attention. And that's the thing where I say the media, people who call themselves, who have their shows and they want to support the community and they're doing this stuff every day, every week or whatever, that's the time you need to educate people. Don't be so quick to fall for the okie doke.
Yep.
Because it's irrelevant what he pays. And the other thing is, I still keep telling people, he's a billionaire. Yeah. You cannot compare your lifestyle and what you do, what you pay or what you don't pay, and where you go, where you can and cannot go with him. You cannot, there's no comparison.
There's no comparison.
And that's the biggest problem that a lot of people have made these last 4 years. That's the problem they made when the electoral colleges and the other people voted for him. Some kind of way they saw themselves or thought Trump would be able to empathize with them, or they saw Trump understands where I'm coming from. No, the heck he doesn't.
Right.
He doesn't. Anybody who doesn't have to get up and go to work, anybody, I don't care who it is, who doesn't have to get up and go to work, who doesn't need a job, I mean, even if they're an actors get up and go to work. They have to keep making movies. They make movies to keep their millions. I mean, they want to get to the point. I love watching Oprah. Even as a billionaire, she's still out there getting
Right.
that money. She's
Right.
still
Right.
chasing that dollar.
Right.
But, and again, because she has other things she wants to do. Some of these are dreams. Some of these things she may want to do for her godchildren. Who knows? But those who have to get up and go to work in order to pay the rent or the mortgage, to keep the lights on, the gas on, to pay that car note, there is no way in the world that a man like Trump understands what you're going through.
That's true. You know,
And you sound real foolish when
Yeah.
you say that he does.
so current events. What's going on with the election as far as anybody knows? I'm going to be a coordinator, so I'll be at the polls on that day. I talked to Dr. Ford, and he says that he and 3 other media professionals are going to do a live coverage from 4 different locations throughout the country. They're going to come together on Zoom, and they're going to do live coverage about the election. Any update? Anybody got any?
Well-
Well, I can tell you, the NAACP has actually put out emails requesting individuals, if you're able, to serve as a monitor
Oh,
at the polling places to, I guess, make sure to report any kind of irregularities.
okay.
There have been allegations of some people that they've been trying to intimidate them in certain cities and to keep them from coming to vote, even with voting early.
Wow.
And they're calling, asking for people to come and serve as those monitors who, again, if they see something, they have no problem with calling the officials.
Okay.
And I can give you, and like I said, you can just reach out to anybody who knows the NAACP. You can go on their website. It is posted there, and they're calling them they want you to be a poll monitor.
A poll.
And that's what they're asking
Wow.
people to do.
Okay.
Those who will, again, call out and call the police if they need to. The person that's organizing this, her name is Stephanie Owens. And I'll give you the information one if you want to put it on your website.
Okay.
And they're asking people to do this from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. in their local time zone.
Okay.
And I want you to report any issues you see at the polls from your mobile device.
That's a real position, poll watcher. So now you're saying that enough
Well,
people. I
poll
guess,
watchers are different. Poll watchers are different from poll monitors. Poll watchers are paid.
Right.
These individuals. This is a volunteer
Okay.
position.
No, poll watchers
And
don't
everyone-
get paid.
Poll watchers. I've been in politics for. I've always paid my poll watchers. Is that
Okay, all right, you paid yours, but on the
Well,
average,
they-
most of them don't get
all
paid.
Of them, I don't know of any poll watcher that did not get paid.
Yeah,
Because even the union people, you may
Yep.
not get paid for that day, but you're paid your salary. Because many a times we've had union members come in, AFL-CIO downtown on Wacker in Chicago. They would make sure the tradesmen were there, AFSCME people were there, SEIU. Those individuals do not get paid because they're getting paid their day's salary. But for individuals who are not there by the bequest of the union, those individuals are paid.
Okay.
Those
'Cause
individuals are paid.
I never paid any poll watchers who worked for me. Cause I
Well,
guess
you
I
are-
didn't have
you
that
are
kind of
lucky.
budget.
Well, maybe y'all didn't have a good budget.
I didn't have that
you
kind of budget.
So, but that's different. That's why they're calling them poll monitors, not to be confused with poll watchers, who are usually there
Uh-huh.
by one of the candidates. Some of the candidates have poll watchers. some of the various parties will have poll watchers there.
Yes.
So
yes.
this is why they're using the word poll monitor.
Poll
Yes.
monitor.
And that, is there anybody that's interested, and just to make sure that things go fairly, you know? Because
Well-
poll watchers do something completely different. They're there, they're looking at, they've got the poll sheets out. They're making sure they call out stuff. They're giving reports to whatever campaign they're working with. These poll monitors will not be doing that. The only thing that they're asking them to do is to report any kind of issues or irregularities. And you're probably going to report them to their local NAACP, who will probably already have someone that's available to call the attorneys or whoever's watching the polls that day, the official folks, in case they need to have somebody come out there because somebody's doing something wrong. But that's just one of the things I know that they're really pushing. They put it out last week and they're sending more out this week. And they're almost giving you something every day, making that request.
Okay. Well,
I
I
think-
just wanted to welcome Levette to the show. She just joined us. Levette is from the West Side Cultural Arts Council on the west side of Chicago. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Yvette.
Levette.
Levette. Hi, Levette.
Levette. Hello. Oh my goodness. Okay, go on.
Let me say this. I think come Tuesday after the election, we may witness the demise of the Republican Party come Tuesday.
Ooh.
Because after what they done, and this is what gets me about the Democrats, the Republicans that systematically packed the courts. Now they done packed the Supreme Court.
Mhm.
And then they had the audacity to ask the vice president, what are you going to do? Are you going to pack the courts? Hell, y'all just did it. Y'all just did it. Then they just voted the lady in. So now they got a 6-3 majority.
Mm.
So even if the Chief Justice sided with the liberals, they're going to have that 5-4 vote. So to do anything they want to until after the election is over and January 20th when they get sworn in, and then the Senate come back to session, and I'm praying to God we win the Senate too.
What say you, Margot?
I said that is it. I am bypass. I have personally in my mind and in my planning, I've already started planning 21, 22, 23, 24, and on. So we always should continue to plan and put strategies together to move forward, no matter what happens. We
Yes.
see it. And I'm praying for the best. And the rest of it, I'm getting charged up and trying to get as healthy as I can to move forward. We
Okay.
got to move our agenda forward. We can't wait like the one story. There were some movie stars who kept winning the Grammy. And they asked him, how are you doing this all the time?
Uh-huh.
He said, because we never stop planning. Even when that album wasn't platinum. And he said, we never stopped. We stayed in the studio and we kept producing and producing and producing. And that's what we have to do with the motivation to continue on with our children, more education, and getting ready.
Okay.
Because they expect for us to fall down, go under the couch, go hide. No, it's time for us to rise and keep on going.
Yeah.
So
Right,
I'm going to
right.
bid everybody good evening. I have to go, but it's been interesting.
What'd you say, Margot?
I said I have to leave, but I have to leave now. But I just
Okay.
want to tell everybody, just thank you all for sharing so much information. I'll be still listening, but I got
Okay. Levette, are you here? Levette?
It don't sound like she came on.
Yeah.
Hey,
I see her
brother,
speak, but,
Brother Robert,
Yes,
I have a wonderful question for you.
yes.
Since you out in California,
Mm-hmm.
in 1978, when the citizens out there passed Prop 13,
I wasn't here in 1978.
but you're there now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been on the books for 40 some years now. I know they tried to do something with Prop 13 out there. But have you had a chance to study Prop 13 since you've been there?
No, I have not.
Because
No, I have not.
Prop 13 is
What is it?
probably, well, Prop 13 is whereby it protects the property owners.
Okay.
And also, it took away the assessor's ability to reassess your property every 3 years, every 4 years. Now, your property only get reassessed when you get ready to sell it.
Oh,
And they cut the cap. They capped it back to that thing, to the 70s, 78, 79. But right now, they only pay 2%. And then
2% of what? 2% of what?
2% on the assessed valuation of the property.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And then the people said they had enough of them property taxes going up. The courts ruled in favor of the children out there that they were not giving adequate funding to the schools.
Oh,
So what happened was they took and moved the power over to the state,
okay.
thereby having almost like one statewide budget for education.
Okay.
And they did away to a degree with property taxes as the main source of revenue. They now use the income tax for the majority of their revenues
Huh?
to pay
Oh.
for stuff.
Oh, okay.
So we can do the same thing here.
So I was about to ask, so how, I mean, is their system operating at a better?
But you know, we should not compare ourselves with California and Illinois. California has 40 million people. In addition to
Okay, well,
California having
what do they
40
have to
million
do?
people,
But what do they have
Hold
to do
on.
with anything?
hold on. In addition, the medium income in California is what we hear is our highest income here in Illinois. You're doing apples and oranges.
No,
You're doing
I
you can't compare there.
disagree with you.
And you know, one of the things you're talking about, something that happened in 1978, and what it did was try to, because I lived in California.
Yes.
I know people with property there, and I also know people there who have to work a second job to pay their property taxes. So before you
But their
start
property
saying
tax
let's
is not
do
that
this in
high.
Illinois, before you start saying let's do this in Illinois, you really need to look at California as a whole and see how it works, where it works, and why it would not work here.
But it
would
will
not.
work here.
No,
I have to
but again,
disagree
we're not-
with you.
But we were talking about the election. We're not talking about property taxes.
Well, yeah,
I
that's
know
all
they're
part
talking
of the
about-
election. The election, yes.
they're talking about income. They're talking about changing the income tax to a graduating tax.
Absolutely. But the
That
governor,
is different.
but no,
California does not have that. But for
No.
the states that do have it, I can tell you they have it in West Virginia. It works for them. And they have it in Arkansas. And it doesn't necessarily always work because although both of them have them, the people in West Virginia, I can tell you, do better because the other supporting taxes in the state kind of make sure that not all the revenues are coming from the
Income tax?
graduated income tax, because there are other taxes that go into the system that they actually pay for services and programs out of. So again, it is not something, it's not a quick fix. You can't just say, oh, this will work and this will fix all our woes. You have to have other things in place in order for that system to be able to be fully utilized and to be able to support the programs that we are saying that we want them to support. So it's not a be all end all.
didn't say that.
And there are other forms of taxation that actually have helped those states and keep those states, what we would say, financially solvent. And that isn't again, they're different. They do things differently. Their income levels are different. I mean, there's a lot of things that where sometimes you can't even compare, use those other states to compare what we're trying to do here in Illinois. And I think that's unfair when people shout out these things and say, oh, this will work. And if you've never lived there and been there, how can you say it works? How?
I'm looking at what I have studied and researched. And also, we spend $30 billion a year in this state on property taxes. Now, the governor,
we're talking about income tax
no,
right
no,
now.
but you're missing the point, though. You're missing the point. The point is this: the governor want us to pass the fair tax, which ain't no different than the progressive income tax that we have on the federal level. Now, it is ridiculous for Ken Griffin to be paying 4.9% like I pay 4.9% with the flat tax. Yes, he's gonna pay a little bit more, but
what they want to change.
I agree. But if we had tax bracket under the progressive income tax system, he would pay a little bit more than just a little bit more. And I agree with that.
No, well, with the way it works out, he's gonna pay substantially more than what he's paying right now.
I think it's 7.9 if they change it.
More than what he's paying right now. Like I said, unless you've actually lived in the States and seen how it works, and that's one of the things when you were talking before, and that's something that James Thompson and some of the other governors and Edgar would do. He would send his teams and his people there. They would be there to actually work with them and see it and come back and discuss it. Instead of you just sitting here in Illinois, looking out across the U.S., all the way to California, Utah, or whoever else, to say, oh, yeah, let's use their process. This works for them. But you got to really look at that state and see if that state, if they operate like we do. Look at their income. Look at their whole taxing system to see how they generate revenue before you can say it works here. And I mean, or it isn't going to work either. Before you say it isn't going to work, the same thing needs to occur.
And can we say?
And it's just kind of unfair when we have people spouting this stuff out, saying, no, this isn't right. Then I hear stupid things in the commercials. Well, you know, they can change our taxes. They can change it again and do a tax increase. They can always do that. They always have that power.
That's true.
They always have that power. So stop the foolishness. Stop wasting time on stupid
you see,
stuff.
That's for folks who don't do research.
If I can get in here, what we have to also look at is Illinois and California have a completely different breakdown of the population. Chicagoland, 5% of the population of Illinois. That is not the case in California at all.
Correct.
It is more spread out. It is different. So when you're looking at how to make laws for the state of Illinois, you're looking at mostly the Chicagoland area, which has a much higher income rate than the rest of the state. Then if you look at California, to which the income rate is diverse as it's spread out across the entire state of California, you cannot base your laws in Illinois off the laws that work in the state of California, which have almost 30 million more people, or sorry, 20 million more people than you have in this state.
Thank you.
Well, I have to see, the one thing about America I like, I can agree to disagree. Okay.
And that's fine.
Now I'm done my research, and my position is time. It is time to do away with property taxes. Okay. Now the governor. Now check this out. Check this out. The governor said, if the fair tax passed, he want to shoot $100 million to give us some form of tax relief. Now, if we're spending $30 billion a year in property taxes, what is $100 million going to do for us? Now, when you break down the $30 billion, we got 800.
Make sure that we acknowledge that everybody does not pay the same rate for property taxes. Everybody.
We know that, but
so when you're doing
when
a
you look
tax
at
relief bill, you have to realize that you're not relieving only property taxes. Everybody does not pay property taxes. Everybody does not pay the same
I
amount of taxes.
understand that.
So when you're relieving these taxes for certain people, you have to understand that you are relieving certain taxes or certain monies for certain people. You cannot base that solely off the $30 billion that we pay in taxes. If you own 30 billion or some amount worth of property, you are expected to pay taxes on that property.
You don't have to pay property taxes. Matter of fact, under the Constitution, no.
No, I'm gonna pay those delinquent taxes, and those gonna be my property.
If you look at
this,
this is the Constitution. This is the Constitution. In 1978, at the convention, the Illinois State Convention, this is where they tricked us. Because when the courts told the state, after they got rid of the personal ad valorem taxes, they said you must go back and create a statewide tax or a sales tax to make up for the loss of revenue. And I sat on the governor's task force for property tax relief with Mary Flowers. This is the 62-page report that our committee put together, which is smoking. And we say in there what happened at their constitutional convention, how they jewed us, gypped us, hoodwinked us, bamboozled us.
We're not using those jewed us terms. We're not doing that.
But the bottom line is this. It's time to do away with property taxes in this state. Maria Pappas just came out with a 20-year study how property taxes done triple here in Cook County. Then we had Joe Barrios, who ripped off our community to the tune of $2.5 billion by overtaxing us, overtaxing our property, overvaluing our property. So all of this stuff is compiling itself into the fair tax system. And I say to the governor, you get the fair tax. $100 million is not going to put a dent in the fact that we're spending $30 billion in property taxes. That's the point he needs to understand.
Can I pose this question then?
Yes.
Okay, so when you say we do away with the property taxes, then what do you propose that we use? What tax income revenue to the state government do you propose we use to pay for police, parks, schools, streets, community colleges, public hospitals, elections,
infrastructure,
sewage treatments? What do you propose?
I
want to remove something.
I
create a proposal to make up for that loss.
I created
billions of dollars in taxes. There has to be some type of initiative to come back and recuperate what you've lost in that.
That's what the courts.
Exactly. Thank you, Robert.
That's what the courts told Springfield to do, which they did not do. Okay,
but Tony,
this is the point.
Anthony, wait. Anthony, I need to stop you for a minute because I got to get off too. I'm like Margot. I was hoping this show would talk more about and encouraging people to make sure they get out the vote.
Yes.
Because you're going to be putting it out there. I think that is something we should have been focusing on. I'm just like Robert. If you own property, you're going to pay taxes.
Not necessarily.
If you don't pay taxes, you get delinquent in them. I'm the kind of person that will buy them up and own the property and then sell it. So, but anyway, if you're not going to talk, I think there is so much at stake with this current election and getting this COVID-19 under control, which is going to take out even more lives. And then we don't have to worry about taxation or anything else. Because again, with the fact that Wisconsin just went from, they had 100,000 all the way up to the 7th month. And just in a matter of a couple of weeks, now they have another 100,000 that are tested positive just in a matter of a couple of weeks. That is serious. And Wisconsin is our next door neighbor. And I know a lot of people, as young, old, and in between, are not taking COVID serious.
They're not.
They're not taking it serious. And just like Anthony, maybe you brought something to light. Maybe some people are thinking about Illinois like California and not knowing California got 40 million people. If they lose 100,000 people, which nobody should die, it's not going to adversely influence them like it will here in Wisconsin. It's not going to overburden their medical system like it will here in Wisconsin and Illinois. But what needs to be talked about is the fact that people need to keep themselves safe. They need to listen to the experts. We need to vote early. If you have
Yes.
mail-in ballots, you need to mail them in. If early voting is still available, I would tell people, because everywhere I've seen, there's been a long line and nowhere
Yes.
for people to sit down. If you got one of those little folding chairs that you use to go fishing or something, bring it with you. But that is the thing that's important right now in our community, because COVID-19 has caused a situation where we have unemployment in the Black community right now because of COVID-19. It's at 8.9%. And we've been going back and forth. I think the lowest has ever been doing this is 7.3%. The other thing in the Hispanic community is 2 out of 5 are out of work. And now they're getting ready to close the restaurants again. Come Friday, they can't serve inside anymore. So, I mean, it's cold here. So people can't come. And that was the whole purpose of them going, was they need that socialization. The other thing they need to try to tell these younger folks is you don't necessarily have to physically socialize. You don't need that face-to-face, because that's what's killing a bunch of folks. I think that's more important than in the property taxes, because you got to pay them taxes.
Well, I
If you don't pay
disagree
them
with
taxes,
you.
you're going to lose your property.
Well,
And
I mean,
whatever
I
happened in
I agree with the
1978
part
in
about the
California
COVID.
doesn't matter.
I had COVID-19. I'm a survivor. I had cancer. I'm a survivor. So I agree with what you're saying about that part of your conversation. And I want to shout out, I took my sister to vote. My 2 daughters voted. And so I'm very pleased that my 2 young daughters went to vote.
Okay, and I voted early.
All right.
Have you voted? Sandra,
Yes, ma'am.
voted? What about you, TJ? You vote? Oh, TJ.
TJ's only 15.
Now, what about you, Yvette? Did you vote yet? Robert?
Yes, I did.
Okay, cool. Well, then we on target.
Yes.
When I went to vote 2 days ago, there was a line,
Praise God.
and like Sandra said, people bought their chairs,
Yes.
and other people came with those little motor
Bikes.
wheelchairs.
Cheer.
Yeah, and it was a whole line of us out there, but we were out there.
Yes.
Everybody had their mask on. And
Yes.
when you approach the door for the Titley Park government house, I can't remember what they call it, but when you go in there, they had the spray, the alcohol, and the sanitizer. And before you could get your card to go and use the touch screen, you spray the system down. I mean, it was just it was very.
Now I took my sister to Orland Park Township to vote.
Okay.
They gave them pens.
They did?
With a rubber tip on it. And you just hit the screen with the pen. And you got to keep the pen. That was your prize. Yes.
They didn't do that. It was interesting, and you get your little tag at the end to say I voted, and people were. I mean, it was.
They didn't do that in Orland Park.
There.
They didn't do that. Well, they didn't give us nothing to give out. I got one out when I went to Markham Courthouse and voted. They gave me that little tag.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Anthony.
Hey, Livette, how you doing?
Yes, okay, since all of you voted, the puzzle that I have is about the tax thing, because I'm clueless about it. So I was listening to your point of view, and if anyone else has a reason that they voted for or against, I would like to hear, because I've not yet made a decision about that process. And I think that whatever the tax system is, someone is manipulating how it's going to be and who it's going to benefit. And
well,
so I think that's.
Let me say this, because I had to educate a lady up in North Chicago yesterday. And I said, this is how you have to look at the flat tax versus the progressive tax. With a flat tax, you only got one tax bracket. And in Illinois, it's 4.9%. So billionaire Ken Griffin, he's got $50 million coming in, as an example. John Doe got $45,000 a year coming in. They're both in the same tax bracket. Yes, Ken Griffin is going to pay a little bit more because he got a lot more. But if you got it set up like you have it on a federal level, where you have different tax brackets, and Ken Griffin will be at the high end, 7.9% tax bracket, and you would still stay in what you call the 4.9% tax bracket.
I see.
That's the difference in understanding the progressive tax system versus the flat tax system.
And that one that you just explained is
The progressive.
the flat tax.
The flat tax is what we have in Illinois.
But we're changing it, right? That's what.
We want to change it to a progressive tax system.
Mhm.
Adam,
What is to stop it from continuing to progress?
the
They want to change it.
okay, whether it's the flat tax or the progressive tax system, it's all embedded in the hands of Springfield.
Mhm.
Springfield have the power. This is the Constitution book of Illinois. Article 9, Section 1, give the legislators the sole power to bring in revenue through taxation. This is where they get their authorities from. So don't be hoodwinked by the commercial saying, well, they can raise your taxes now under the flat tax. All they got to do is have the votes to get it done. Okay? So Adam Smith, my good friend, Adam Smith is the father of the progressive tax system and capitalism. And he said that the wealthy should pay the bulk of the taxes. And folks asked him, why do you say that? He said that because they got the damn money. That's why. And he said the little people, you take the little people, he said the little people have to scuffle to pay rent, their mortgage, buy food, and raise their family. The wealthy, they got so much money, they can do that 10 times over. He said the wealthy should not only pay their fair share of taxes and then some, because they got the money.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, under Eisenhower, the federal taxes was in the 90% percentile. So the wealthy was paying 90% and still making money.
Mhm.
Still making money. Okay? It just under Reagan, it started going down. Bush, he went bananas, talking about the wealthy. They call it, quote unquote, the job creators. This is how my conservative friends talk. Well, you don't want to hurt the job creators. Well, hell, they can't take the money to the graveyard. Okay, so we gave 45. Well, let me go back to Obama. Obama was put in a situation where he had to go along with the Republicans on those tax cuts because he did not have the power under the votes because he didn't have a Democratic Senate.
Okay.
We lost the Senate. So they started cutting these folks' taxes, cutting their taxes. And now they run around here, they want another tax cut, the rich. And what happened, the Koch brothers told the Republicans, if y'all don't give us our tax cut, we would take our marbles and go home. And what did they do? They gave them, Koch brothers, the tax cuts that they know they didn't need.
Can we just
Now in Illinois,
before we continue, I'm sorry, I apologize for interrupting you, but what we have to understand is also the party system. when we look at the major parties, Republican and Democratic, Republicans, if I see a lot of the time, this is a generalization, so if you are offended, I apologize. However, they say Republicans are not those for increasing taxes, however, for cutting programs to which can help save money, which they find cutting programs which are not seen as valuable as their constituents' monies. However, Democrats are more for increasing the taxes. So when you look at taxation problems, we have to also look at this. Democrats are supporting these tax increases.
Okay.
The Republicans are not there alone.
Okay. That's a good point.
Okay. I'm trying to understand the point you're trying to make.
Well, you're saying the Republicans. It's not only the Republicans that are increasing the taxes. Democrats are helping them. Democrats are increasing the taxes. Just if Democrats aren't amending these bills, when you get that chance, you get the chance to amend the bills. If you're in the Appropriations Committee or the Finance Committee,
okay,
you get that chance when you go to that committee hearing. They give you the opportunity to amend that bill when it's sent through your committee. There are Democrats
but I think we get some confusion here. Okay.
There's no confusion.
Yes, it is. I think no. Listen, listen to me. Now, the Republicans on the national level want to cut taxes for the wealthy, the 1%. Okay, and they done cut taxes so much for the wealthy that now they're looking at, we don't have enough money for these social programs. What? Nobody told y'all to give rich folks tax cuts they didn't need.
Okay, can you substantiate these claims? Where are you finding the information to back up these claims?
Oh, I got the documents in my bindings where I did the research to show you how taxes done got cut by the wealthy.
Can I say this? Our dear president said at Mar-a-Lago, told all of the wealthy billionaires there, told to the public that he had just signed an executive order to give them those tax cuts. So there's nothing hidden about these people. And I believe that no matter who you are, Republican or Democrat, in public, the Democrats might say that they're one way but they're also receiving the benefits from the tax cuts, just the wealthy. You know, they say that they're against Trump, but they're still taking the wealth out of the country. Out of the hands of the public. And I think that Black people spend so much time being divisive that we don't have a unified voice around a subject. Because if you look at the Latino population, they've not even told anybody who they're supporting. So they're sitting in the cut making demands, and while we're arguing with each other, they're making demands no matter who wins. Yeah. So
that is so true.
They have a package. It's just like Obama. When Obama got in, DACA said the DACA was a program. It was something that had something that required funding, and it required a plan, a proposal, and they received what they asked for. You ask the Black community right now, a few days before the election, what have we asked for? The only thing that we've asked for it is, in reality, is the support, our support, which goes across the line. Black people for Biden, 90%. You know, everybody knows what we're going to do, but where are the proposals and what did we ask for? Mm-hmm. So it's a few days. You tell me, what did we ask for in this election? So that means, what are we going to get?
Can I Are you saying, are you basically or asking is what was our political capital?
That's what you're saying,
What was
right?
our what was our
Yeah,
what was our political capital?
What was it? What was it now? What is it now? What was it 4 years ago? What was it 4 years? What has been in the last 50 years? Because the Kerner Commission report says what they discovered, the poverty that Black people lived in 50 years ago, they did an upgrade on the report. 50 years later, they said it's the same.
Yeah, I mean, nothing.
So we
Some
are
things change, but
different.
not a lot.
No, absolutely.
Not a
So
lot.
we need to change the narrative. We need to start to talking about what are our entrepreneur aspirations and how do we
Accountable, yes.
support each other and how
Yes,
do
Robert.
we create the wealth amongst ourselves, because begging for crumbs, you're going to just keep getting it. So because I've not heard anyone say we are demanding our reparations that's due to us, that's probably quadrillions of dollars. And
Right.
so
Might
we're
I add
asking for
that
peanuts where
there
we're
are
owed a
there
lot.
are various movements and organizations who have called for that. It is
There
That's
you
true.
go. See, there you
Around
go.
the
So you
country.
said, you know what
and
you
these
said?
are
You
not
said that,
only
but you
these
know
are not
what,
only local, but they are national.
sir?
So we
And you
can't
know
count
what? And
them out
listen,
or cut them out of the
okay,
equation.
no, but what you said was they're various, and that's the problem.
Yep.
We operate in too many singularities where
Hey,
we're not operating as a unit.
Right.
So
we're not
that's how.
actually looking at this from a logical standpoint, which there are various movements. We're tackling multiple problems.
Absolutely,
So
I
to
agree
tackle
with you.
multiple
I
problems,
agree with you.
it's not one. Okay, when you have various movements to take down various problems, that helps you get the work done. You can't say, "Oh, we're all going to." It gets too confusing when you're 17 different movements trying to take down 27 different problems. It's not going to work that way, and it's never going to be able to be successful because you are one person who is focused on one thing versus another person who is focused on another thing. It will never be successful. So
Robert,
when you're focused on a unity, it's unity by separation. You are individual, yet you are unified.
The way that you just described that, our circumstance shows that we're very divided. So if we continue to operate on that premise, while when you look at white women, they say the Women's March.
Mhm.
And when you look at them, it's a majority white women. But the thing is that they're walking in unison, and that's what I'm talking about. And so when we have a voice of our plight as one, because that's why the Hispanic population is where they are. They're not worried because guess what? The median income for them is $56,000, and for blacks it's $40,000.
Mhm.
That's why when you do hear that they're supporting Trump, because they know that they have been promised things as a
But
unit.
can I ask a question then?
Yes, go right ahead.
There's a senator from Florida. His name is Marco Rubio. He is a Republican. Senator Marco Rubio is a Republican. He ran for president. He began his campaign in 2015, and
I know who he is.
he
I know
he
who
lost.
he is.
And
Go
not for
ahead.
you, but for the listeners who may not. And he is a Republican, as we know, but there are other Latinx or Latin males or Latin women or Latin people who identify as Democrat. However, if you look historically at the treatment of Latin Americans, it has not always been the best.
Mhm.
They are two separate parties, support two separate ideals. However, they both are striving towards the same goal of success in this country. They are united, yet they believe in separate things. They do not have to conform to each other's ideas to get one thing done. If you express that individualism, you can get much more done. When you're trying to suppress one's voice, to get to a certain goal, it does not work.
Do you know what? Let me tell you, what you're describing is us. What you're not describing them, because when they speak in one voice. I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat or Venezuelan or Cuban. When they speak in that one voice for that $1 that they're going after, that's what unifies them. And so when you look at the Black community, we're everything but unified. We're GDs, we're pimps, we're players, we're whores, we're Masons, we're Eastern Stars, we're Alpha Kappa, we're kittens, we're this, we're that, and all of that. So we're as separated and fragmented as any group in the world.
But
so you can't tell me about that unified voice of the Hispanic.
What is the main goal?
I'm just sharing with you.
What are we trying to get to? I'm
sharing with you the division.
It doesn't matter where we are at this point because, like I said, individualism.
The main goal. The main goal is unity.
Hold on, Robert. We gonna get to you.
The main goal is umoja, and until we get a principle of unity and stop being fractured and in different factions. Because you can't walk in the room, sir, and I've walked in the room, and I'm just a Black woman walking into the room with Black people. But because I didn't have on this color or that color or shake your hand the same way or this way or that way, I have to go over into my corner by myself. So when we are able to unify and remove all labels, we can then move forward.
And can I say that will never be the case?
Well, you know what? That's your pessimism. That's your pessimism.
Everyone
you know what? That's your pessimism.
Can I talk? Can I speak? Go right ahead. Everyone has their preference. Everyone has what they're drawn to. And because it's never the same alignment for everyone, it has to be separatism. We cannot base our unity, quote unquote, on what everybody wanting the same thing or everybody being the same thing.
Because that's why the Republicans are running the country. Because
every Republican does not want the same thing.
You had a
that's why they have caucuses.
No, but listen, 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 that 40% that got them over the hurdle, they're still sticking tight. I don't care if they freeze in the middle of the night. They still sticking together. That 40%. You can learn from that.
Okay. There are caucuses, like I was saying. There are caucuses.
I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about culture.
Said Republicans are a political party.
But guess what? That 40%, that's just not more than Republicans. That's a ethnicity that's stuck together like glue. And that's so you can say it's the Republican Party, but that's a glue that did not come apart and it accomplished what it set out to do.
We got 2 minutes, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay,
go ahead, Robert.
Speak not. It's going to be on.
Oh, goodness. Well,
Robert.
Okay. Let me give you a perfect example. First, I'm going to say one thing. I am all for HR 40, the Commission to Study Reparations. In saying that, I consider the mainstream reparations movement as a fraud, and Wanda, I'm going to email you an article I wrote that will prove to you why it's a fraud. But here's my point. Even if the movement was legitimate, you can march all day, all night, whatever, but still, if that bill dies in Congress, the commission is not going to happen. I mean, like for instance, Jim Clyburn, who is the House Whip, he's not for it. He's not for it. Joe Biden is not for it. Barack Obama is not for it. And it kind of gets me that the reparations movement had 8 years to lobby Barack Obama. Yeah. And when there was a Democratic majority in Congress, in the House, and in the Senate, if they didn't push it through, they could have. If Barack Obama had signed the bill, if it came up, the Democrats would have held all the cards. But yet they dropped the ball. And like I said, you know, if Joe Biden becomes president, he's not going to be for it. And like I said, this House Whip, Jim Clyburn. I call him Jim Proburn. Seriously, if he
From
says
North Carolina.
if he says South Carolina,
Yes,
if he
South
says
Carolina. I'm sorry.
if he says he buck dance, he's a buck dancer. He's the help for Nancy Pelosi, and I'll explain that later. But what I'm saying is that if he says, hey, this ain't coming up in here, it's not coming up and it's not going up in there. No matter what the grassroots says, no matter how many grassroots movements are, there are. That's the reality.
Yeah.
That's the reality. That bill, every time that bill came up, it always died in committee. It never, in its history, has not had a second vote.
Robert,
yes.
Can I ask the question?
Yes.
Were you aware that, and I'm not sure what value to this particular thing is, but were you aware that Trump signed a proclamation for our 400 years? And if anyone knows that he did, I don't know what's in it. And so maybe that's something for investigation, is to find out exactly what proclamation did he sign and what was in it for the 400 years of.
I'll find that out. But what I'm saying, even before
$20,000 supposed to be in it.
I'm set. But here's what I'm saying. Even before Trump came into office, this was for years.
Yeah.
John Conyers sponsored that bill. Yeah. He was the chair of the Judiciary Committee. That bill always was referred to his committee. He didn't even fight for his own bill. It always died.
Yeah.
It always died. That's why I'm saying these people are not serious. So no matter how much people yell and scream about reparations, like I said, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. It's like, I want that bill.
But listen. The thing is that I was privy to some information some years ago that said that the World Court has acknowledged our plight. And we can't keep yelling reparations at each other. But there are methodologies that we have to figure out. We can't just keep singing to the choir. But if you look at things historically, in the darkest hour of our people, they came up with regulations and proposals, and they never gave up. And so everybody's crying and not doing anything and saying, well, that's not going to work, or this is not going to work. Well, let me tell you something. I wake up every day trying to make it work. And so I dare anybody to say, hey, listen, you just wasting your time. I'm going to be part of history that says, oh, she submitted some proposals and some ideas and some articles and so we've got to keep our think tank on and actually walk away from the table with solutions, and instead of just high blood pressure.
Okay, so anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're at the close of the show. You're right. We need to come back and have this discussion further, because I think it's very important that we talk about this issue. We do have to have the capacity to be able to acknowledge what we need to do.
Yeah. And Robert is right about this whole process.
Yes.
Because we got different organizations run around this country.
And they're frauds.
Yep. Everybody got their point of view about reparations.
Yes.
And let me say this real quick. The Latinos, the Hispanics went to Springfield. They asked for $100 million and walked away with 98 million.
Look at that.
And we got crumbs.
That's that.
Why is that? Why is that?
I
know what's going on, but why is that?
Because the Black Caucus, who voted for them to get the 98 million, don't stand together and fight for our community like they do other folks.
They are a shadow of the past. The Congressional Black Caucus today, they are not the Congressional Black Caucus that we had 50 years ago. They are a shadow of their former selves. They are only a rubber stamp for the white Democratic majority establishment.
And we're talking about the one in Springfield too.
Okay.
Robert, you're all right with me, man.
Mhm.
Next Wednesday, 6 o'clock.